All right, guys, welcome back to the Afrocentrist podcast. My name is Ejiro Osakede, and as you already know, I have a guest with me in the house. So, I struggled with pronouncing your middle name, so I just go with Chenoa Murray. So, can you please, first of all, as an opening comment, help us learn how to pronounce your middle name?
Okay. Hi, kings and queens. My name is Chenoa hARTherapy Murray.
Oh, I was wondering because I would have pronounced it atheiRapy, but I wasn't sure. Oh,
a little bit like arthritis. No, it's hARTherapy. Yes.
hARTherapy. Wow. How come though? Is that like a Christian name?
No, but God did give me the name. So when I was in undergraduate school, about age 21, I had my first boyfriend and breakups thing go on. And so I was very depressed actually in college, and I had suicidal issues and thoughts and ideations. And I found that I actually stopped going to class and I stopped eating, all of those things. However, I was signed up for an acting class because I wanted something easy that semester. And I found that every time that I would go to practice or would perform with my fellow actors or whatever involved with the arts, reading, dancing, singing, I felt alive and I felt very much needed and important again. And I didn't feel like God had abandoned me. So I always tell people that God used the arts to save me from myself. It was art therapy. It was therapy for my heart. And I know that it does that for others. So
wow, I love it.
Yes, shout out to the man who left. Thank you.
Oh my God.
God did everything for a reason. So.
Oh yes, indeed, everything works together. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to share your story. I did a little bit of introduction about you in the last episode of the podcast, telling them, you know what, we're having a guest today who's going to be telling us about her book, Whites Only, and the story behind it, how, your journey or your time, 2 years in South Africa helped, birth that work. So can you tell us a little bit about how come Whites Only?
Sure. So yes, I spent time as an HIV and AIDS health volunteer with the U.S. Peace Corps. Some people may or may not be familiar, but it's basically an agency similar to the Red Cross. And they sent me to South Africa. And while I was there, the first 9 months, I couldn't pick up on the language too much. And there's so many languages, but the one I was assigned to was isiZulu, among the Zulu people. And they're very adamant and strong when it comes to their culture and their language. They actually were the last Bantu or dark-skinned people to be defeated by the Dutch and the British in the, I would say, the 1950s, 60s. So language is very important to them. And when they saw me amongst their people, they thought I was a Zulu and I was speaking English. This was a problem. And they told me that I was cursing the ancestors and being disrespectful. And I was trying to be better than them because I was speaking English. So during the first 9 months when I was trying to learn Zulu, I was very quiet. I didn't speak much. And that's when this book was penned during that quiet time. It's something about getting alone by yourself with God and into that quiet space when the most creative things happen. So I wrote this book at that time, and I was forced to understand and relate to people that I thought were different from me, but were very much like me. And I noticed the women, how they carry themselves as queens. And actually, I noticed really good things about the men and how they really protect their women and things like that. So that's how the book was penned.
Wow, amazing. So tell me, like, why the title, right? Because you could have named it maybe Silent Moments or, or
I could have.
But why whites only?
That's true. I went on a trip to Cape Town. Normally I was staying in a rural village for those 2 years, but I saved up some money to go to, one of the tourist places, Cape Town. And there actually is a courthouse that is no longer in function. The courthouse was used during the apartheid times where people had to go get ID books and they had to go to the court system for the courts to declare what race or ethnicity they were. So the court would decide based on how you looked and whoever was sitting on the bench that day, if you were white or if you were non-white, period. Wow. And there were 2 benches outside of the court entrance. One said whites only, and the other one said non-whites only, everybody else. And I was walking with a friend of mine past this space, and just being a hot-headed Black American, I went and sat on the bench that said whites only. And I took a picture and I said, oh no, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I kept the picture, and I noticed that as I was writing during those quiet times, a lot of my poetry writings had to do with culture, race, identity, diversity. And I said, you know what? This picture is perfect for this cover, for this title of this book. I found out later that the courthouse is no longer in use, and it is actually a monument to the testament of the resiliency of that country and how far they have come from apartheid. So it's no longer in use. I didn't know that at the time.
Wow.
But it's no longer in use.
Like at the time you took the picture, it was no longer in use, but
no, it was no longer in use. Even when I took the picture, it stopped being in use in 1994 when President Nelson Mandela came into power, and then they started to repair all of those, all of those issues.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Great. So how has it been so far since you've released this book? What has been the response, from audience and things like that?
Mixed. It's been a very mixed response. I thought that perhaps white people would be offended, of course. Mm-hmm. And I thought that younger Black or African people would be very much for the book. Mm-hmm. And some of that has been true. However, when I've done the analytics for the book, actually, my biggest supporters financially have been middle-aged white women who've purchased the book the most. I'm not really sure why, but perhaps they're curious to know what I've said about them, even though the book, it's literally not even about white people. It's about all of us and how beautiful God has created all of us to be. So the title is to catch your eye and attention, yes. But I always say this book is for whites only. It is for Blacks only. It is for blues and purples and greens only. This book is for humans only.
Great. Oh my God, you just did some spoken words right there.
There you right. Right.
Great, great, great. So, reading through your profile, I noticed like you are in the works to release a spoken word album from Whites Only this year. So,
Yes.
yes. So I wanted to ask, like, who approached who? Because when you were writing the book initially, I don't think you had it in mind that you were going to create a spoken word out of it, let alone create an album out of it. I hope, did you have that in mind before when you were writing it?
Not at first, but during the process of doing it, yes. So before I finished the book, I knew it was going to become a spoken word album.
Oh, great. So who approached who? Did you approach the producer then? Gregory?
No, and thank you for remembering his name. His name is Patrick Gregory Daniels. I was still in my home in South Africa writing, and I knew I was going to have this album at some point. I didn't have the money for it. I didn't know who was going to produce anything. But I told God, this is a dream of mine. So what I did was I took the old computer that I had and I recorded every single piece using I think it was a Dell computer, and some of it on my old phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept it. And then about 2 or 3 years after that, the album still wasn't, still hadn't come into fruition because I'm very, very specific when it comes to working on my projects. If there's someone else like a producer or someone who's going to be having such a hands-on approach, we need to be of the same spirit. We need to be of the same mind. We need to be of the Holy Spirit, because that is going into your work and into the airways and into people's souls. So I was just very, very skeptical about who to work with, but I did still want it. So I was performing at a music festival that my family actually put on, and I was performing a cappella. I always did my pieces a cappella, even though I heard the music in my head. Then this gentleman actually that I went to high school with approached me, and he said, "Hey, I saw you perform. It was amazing. And I saw all of these instruments behind you. And I was wondering, have you ever thought about putting your poetry to music and creating an album?"
Oh, gosh.
And I just looked at him and I said, "You know what? Shut up." And I just walked away because I couldn't believe that God had brought someone to me. So long story short, this person ended up becoming my actual fiance.
God, I love
And so we produced the album together even before we were dating, but eventually, yeah. He's Patrick Gregory, is my fiance.
Oh my God,
And
on your behalf.
oh my goodness. And actually we met in high school a long time ago, but we reconnected through the music festival and God and the arts, and yeah.
Amazing. Oh my God. So when in 2021 are we looking forward to hearing this?
Oh, goodness. I can't give you that.
Okay.
I can't give that information out just yet. Yes, but it will be this year. But thank you for asking. Yes.
We'll look forward to it. We will look out for it.
Yes. I'm so excited. And I didn't mention that 10% of each book sale as well as each album sale goes to the village where I was. That's important.
I was going there. Like you said, the proceeds goes to the Dream Center in Limehill, South Africa. How is that going? What's the Limehill about? Like what's your Dream Center about?
Okay, so Limehill is a place that was created in January 1968 by the apartheid regime. At that time, they were taking Bantu people. When I say Bantu, it's just dark-skinned people. Okay, who are not white, taking people from wherever they were living, and they were living middle-class lives. They had the agriculture and farming and cattle, but they were forced to leave all of that. And the government picked these areas far away from town, far away from the declared white spots, so that they could live on these black spots away from them. Okay. And Limehill was one of these places they created these black spots. Limehill is the ethnic group there are the Zulus, because they even separated the
ethnic
different. Yes. So there's There's Indebele, there's Siswati, Spedi, there's all these people. But some Zulu people live in this place called Limehill. And at that time, there was drought, there was water shortage. The men were forced to be migrant workers, so they would work in the cities far away from Limehill, maybe only coming home once or twice a year. So the women and children and widows and orphans were kind of defending themselves and building homes there because they were sent with no homes, some with tents, some without a tent, some with they were just desolate. They weren't allowed to bring their cattle, nothing. There's no farmland, nothing.
Wow.
And so you can imagine the issues that arose out of that generation after generation, health issues, school, everything. But 50 years later, here I come in 2015 and 17, and the same issues prevail, if not worse. And these people, they're just like you and me. They love the arts, they love science, music, whatever it is they're into, but they do not have the opportunities presented to them to show them, okay, this is how you take your art and make it into a career, or this is how you take your love for math and science and take it into a business career. So my goal is to take what they're already doing, but be a pipeline, like a link of connection to programs outside of Limehill, whether it's the University of KwaZulu-Natal or University of South Africa, or maybe somewhere in Nigeria or America, I don't know. But I want to form partnerships so that they are aware that they can go here and how you need to do this. So some coaching is going to be involved. This is how you write your essays, yada, yada. That is how.
So is that already in place? Like, is that already going on, and you have people who are already going through the program in Limehill?
I do not have people just yet. So I am busy establishing it.
Okay.
So I'm busy establishing the Dream Center right now.
Ah, fantastic. Yeah, well done. Yeah. I really, really do wish you all the best in that, and that you get all the support that you need with that, you know.
Bless God. Thank you.
Yeah. So 2 more questions and I'll let you go.
Sure.
First one is, why did you choose culture, really? Like, what attracted you to now becoming like a liaison between cultures?
I just believe God chose me to do that. I didn't. Do you know how you're born with something that God is giving you? Can't shake it. Even when you try to do something else, you come back right to it. I think from birth, before I was in my mother's womb, God just decided that this is what your purpose is here on this earth. And so everything in my life was directed towards that. And it's been a blessing. So, for example, both of my parents were in the Army. We've traveled the world. I've always had the opportunity to have friends who look like the rainbow. Everybody is from somewhere else. And my mother was always asking, where are your Black friends, girl? And I'm like, these are all my friends, you know, growing up. But I just see, when God created man, he said, let us make man in our own image. That means when I see someone who is Pakistani, when I see someone who is Turkish, when I see someone who is from Japan, that is a piece of God looking at me.
Ooh.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I may not understand how they communicate with words or their foods, even some of those cultures and customs. I may not even agree with that. Regardless, God said, let us create man in our own image. That is every single person on this planet. Every single one. So whatever your culture is, God bless you with that. But you are created in God's image. And I must respect that and love that about you.
Wow. Like, I'm enthralled. Oh, gosh.
It's true. It's true.
But then how do you deal with people? Like, I get this part, like, and it resonates with me because, you know, you are coming from the angle of, you know, we are all God's creation. Have you ever been in contact with people who do not believe in God? And so how are you able to relate with them based on your perceptive is you are God's image. And so based on that, I respect you, I deal with you. But then when they come with the fact that, oh my, there's no God, how do you handle that?
Absolutely. There's always going to be that, right? That's why we're in this world and not of it. But yes. So like, for example, I have a really good friend. He is an atheist, right? But what I've come to find out is if you're honest with people and don't try to push them one way, but you come with who you are and who you believe God has made you to be. They will respect that. They may not ever agree with you, but your actions are going to speak louder than your words. So when he says things to me like, don't tell me God bless me, because I'm always saying, God bless you, he's like, no, I don't believe in God. And I'm like, well, then God curse you. And then he's like, no, don't do that either. I'm playing with him being on his level. So there's something in there that makes you believe. You're saying, no, don't curse me. You don't believe the blessing. You believe the cursing, right? So I listen. You must listen to where people are coming from. It doesn't mean you have to agree. It never means you have to agree. It just means you tell the truth in love, with grace, knowing that at some point in time, you obviously didn't believe in Christ either and what he did for you, because otherwise we wouldn't need salvation. I have to remember where I was when God found me, when we took me out of that suicidal pit. And at that time, I cursed God myself with my actions. And I told him, I don't believe in you. I can't believe you got me so depressed and blah, blah, blah. That's the same. It's the same kind of root of sin. It's the same thing. So, it's just continuing to know who God has made you to be. And if people don't accept it, you dust the feet off. What is it? Shake the dust off your feet and you move on. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I was in a conversation yesterday and somebody asked a question like that. And it kept me thinking like, okay, I felt like I wasn't prepared for the answer because I was talking about self-love. And for me as well, I was talking from the point of, I know, like the bottom line is if everybody else doesn't love me or doesn't show love to me, I know that God loves me and that keeps me going. And that makes me love me. I'm now, accepting of who I am in my totality, ugly, good, bad, ugly, right? And then that makes me or positions me to see other people the same way that, yes, they could love themselves. So if there's any friction, then we can come together and talk about it, right? Just like you said. But then somebody asked, like, what if from that place you're talking about, okay, God loves you and that's your anchor. What about people who don't know God or who don't accept that there is God? How are they supposed to love themselves? And I wasn't sure if I did justice to that answer, but now listening to you, like...
Fine. And even maybe something that can help you or the listeners. I'm very big on kings and queens and using this verbiage. And I address people, hello, king, hello, queen. And it used to just be, I would just address Black people that way. But then I realized, how am I going to stand on this platform and say that I love all cultures when I'm only calling people who look like me kings and queens? That's kind of hypocritical there. So when I go back to the scriptures and God says, he's the King of Kings, well, then I'm the descendant of royalty. I'm a king and queen. I said everybody is made in God's image. They're kings and queens too. King and queen. So, right. So when I address audiences and things, I pull the royalty out of people. You have to call forth those things that be not as though they were. So you continue to call people that, they'll start to rise up to that standard that you've set versus coming down to their level. People need to be pulled from the darkness or pulled from wherever they are so they can believe that they are better than what they perceive themselves to be.
Fantastic. I love it. Finally, I wanted to ask, like in your bio, you said one thing that would make you happy is to see other people go out and live their wildest dream. How really does that make you happy? Like, how do you feel? I want you to express your feelings when you see people living out their wildest dream.
When I wrote a particular piece, it's called The Queen. I was watching I call her my grandmother, my gogo. She was the old woman I stayed with in South Africa. And I would sit with her and ask her really poignant questions because when she was forced to move to Limehill, she was 22 years old. She remembers everything. She was pregnant. She had a child. I believe she didn't have a husband at that time. And then she had to build her house by hand. It took her 3 years. So she lived in a tent for 3 years.
With a baby.
With a baby and one on the way.
Whoa.
And I would ask her questions like, why are you not bitter? How are you able to be so happy? You've been here for the greater part of about 50 years now. She's 70 something. and you're not angry with white people. You're always praying and smiling. You always go to the mountain to pray. And I need you to help me understand. And she told me, she said, well, my South African name is Nokanya. She said, Nokanya. She said, all these people, they are crazy. One day I go to heaven, sure, no problem, no worries, no problem, no worries. I said, what? What? What forgiveness? I can't even, but this is the kind of forgiveness it requires to live. And I saw that she didn't let any person, any system, any circumstance hold her back from living a fulfilled life. And it started right here in her mind. She just made a decision that I'm free. I'm free. And that's it. You can't take it away from me. I was struggling with some political unrest back home in my country when I was in South Africa. I didn't like the political situation. And I would run to her house crying. I'm so scared to go home. I don't know what they're doing. They're shooting Black people. And she said, no, Kanya, stop crying. God is with you. You must live and not die. I lived through apartheid. You see me? I'm happy. You will not die. You will live. I was like, what? Okay. So all this, she's always talking about living and just being alive and just enjoying until you go to heaven.
Wow.
So she was my inspiration of just like, this lady is living out her dream right now. She got 5 houses now. She could have been angry, which I'm sure at some point she was, but she let it go to the point where you would never see it on her face. She's so free in her mind and her body and her spirit. She's healthy. She doesn't have all these health problems. Nothing. She's just missing some teeth, So I penned one of the first poems in the book after all the times I spent with her that basically says at the end of the poem, freedom knows no boundaries. Neither do I. Ooh. Freedom is here.
So good.
So yes, it was a culmination of things, but that's the main thing.
Wow. I love it. God bless her. She's still there?
Yes. Go. I call her on WhatsApp. Yes. Oh, I cannot wait to see. I love her. Oh, you would love her.
Oh.
God, I've never felt such love.
Oh my gosh. I know Gogo might not listen to this, but would you just do a shout out speaking in Zulu to her right now?
Yo, how? Okay. Sanibonani Gogo. Ngiyakuthanda kakhulu mina nokukhanya. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Oh my goodness.
I just love you so much.
Oh my God. Like I'm almost in tears. Oh my God. I don't even understand what she said, but
bless God, yeah.
Wow. Oh no, jeez, no, my goodness.
Hey,
guys, I'm just gonna end the podcast here because I don't know, man. Maybe I could just feel the love come through. And you know what? Just say something to people about, loving and just accepting, and let's just close it here. Gosh.
Okay, I'll close it with a poem stanza, one stanza. Kissed by celestial glow, the woman, her stride. Freedom knows no boundaries, and neither do I. Ngokukanya kwezulu. Owesifazane isinyathelo sakhe inkululeko ayikho imingcele futhi nami. You see, it does not matter whether you have evolved through English, whether you swear in Spanish, whether you are excited about Afrikaans, or if your love for isiZulu is insatiable, my dear. You are still kissed by celestial glow. The woman, yes, you woman, your stride. Freedom knows no boundaries, and neither do you nor I. The Queen.
Wow. Just wow. Like, I don't know what to call it, but my head just gives like, gosh, what do you carry, girl? Ah!
God.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, guys, but okay. I'll see you guys next week with another guest. Look out for, updates on our social media platform to know about the next guest. But let's just end it here before I start crying like a baby. I'll see you next week. God bless you. Thank you so much, Chenoa. I know, like, this is just yes, yes, sis, yes, sister, yes, sister. Thank you so much. Whatever it is you carry, please hold on to it, treasure it. Like, you are special. Thank you. I am honored. I'm honored to have you on my podcast. God bless you real good. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye bye.